Bond. James Bond.
Bond. James Bond.
The name's Bond. James Bond.
Bond.
My name's Bond. James Bond.
My name's Bond. James Bond.
The name's Bond. James Bond.
What a day. What an insane day. And it could be a good one, it could be a bad one. First and foremost, hello everybody. It is, depending where you're at, it is quite late in the States. If you're in Australia, I think it's like afternoon for you guys. And I don't even think the Brits are awake yet. I'm pretty sure it's like 5 a.m. there. So, let's see. So if you're at East Coast, it's midnight. So it's officially Friday for you guys. TGIF. Central, you're at 11. If you're Mountain Time, best time zone there is. It is 10 p.m. And of course, if you're out there on the West Coast, it's 9 o'clock at night. So your night is just kicking off out there on the West Coast. But we had some insane news today. Just like wildly out of nowhere, quite frankly. The idea that the Broccoli family has given creative control to Amazon is insane. I appreciate every single one of you that is here for showing up. Means the world. I love and appreciate each one of you. We're gonna dive right into this because the amount of stuff that has come out. First, we got the announcement that that Broccoli was stepping away. Then we are given creative control to pursue other projects, which is wild because the James Bond, this, in my humble opinion, this just shows how much brand damage there has been to the Bond franchise. Like it is dang near irreparable. After the travesty that was the last James Bond, quote, with Daniel Craig, whose name I cannot even think of right now. I did not see that one in theaters. I may or may not have tactically acquired it. We, of course, do not promote sailing the high seas at all. That's not a good thing. Don't do that. Yes. Well, it's just mind-blowing. Like the fact that the Broccoli family is no longer involved. I mean, honestly, after Albert Broccoli, like it was never the same. But just the idea that there isn't a Broccoli involved after decades of that family being the stewards of this IP, it's just wow. So Daniel Craig made some comments, and essentially it was just, oh, they have my support, good job, like pretty much a nothing burger, right? The big news is, of course, that creative control has been handed over to Amazon MGM Studios, and now we have the reactions of some people, and we're going to get into what X thinks. Bezos posted a question. There's been a response. I asked Grok to do some math. We're going to get into all of that. But first and foremost, let's see what some people are saying. Amazon seizing creative control of James Bond sparks fandom fears. Well, yes, because their track record sucks. Look at what they did with Wheel of Time. Look at what they did with Rings of Power. Look at what they did to Invincible Season 2. Like, it's not good, guys. It isn't good. And their track record, Americans getting a hold of British IPs has not gone well. It just hasn't. I mean, look at what has happened with Doctor Who going to Disney. With Disney getting, like, before it was even, officially over in the States, and Disney had more rights and control. As soon as Disney stepped in, a franchise that was gasping for air, a British franchise, a British IP that's been around for decades, that was gasping for air, was literally had its head held underwater essentially. And then we had, of course, oh gosh, Rings of Power, Rings of Poopy. I am flabbergasted that has got. I mean, it finally. We knew season 3 was coming because come heck or high water, Bezos has announced. I mean, before anything was ever written or anybody had been cast or anything like that, Bezos announced that it was getting 5 seasons. And I seriously doubt that the amount of vanity and pride involved is going to allow him to cancel that series, even though it needs to be. And now they have complete creative control of James Bond. Amazon's TV and movie track record is causing fandom worries about Bond's future. Rightly so. Quite possibly the worst thing to happen to the franchise. Let's see. For the last 4 years, James Bond fans have been hunting for any sign that a new Bond movie was gaining momentum following the exit of lead Daniel Craig. And good riddance. Don't let the door hit you where the good Lord split you. Thursday's news that Amazon had struck a deal with Bond rights holder Barbara Broccoli and Michael G. Wilson, who is retiring, by the way, to seize control of the franchise means the long-time boggy stalemate between the two parties is over, and the new Bond will assuredly move forward. So why are so many acting like Amazon just beat the living daylights out of 007? Best-selling author Don Winslow wrote on X, absolutely heartbreaking, the end of an era. Film Speak critic Griffin Schiller opined, this is quite possibly the worst thing to happen to this franchise. It'll be milked dry. I have that exact same fear. Predicted another, Amazon is going to scrape the barrel here and be as shameless as possible. Plenty of others have written RIP James Bond. I mean, it's true. It's true. The deal seemed particularly surprising as Broccoli had long retained such a protective grip on the character, following the footsteps of her late father, Albert R. Broccoli. The Broccoli family's careful stewardship has long been credited with the franchise's enduring appeal and its largest successful evolutions over nearly 8 decades. That's what I'm saying, decades. They have, oh my gosh. It was one of the last pieces of beloved IP not controlled by a major corporation, one free of unwieldy TV spin-offs, over-explaining prequels, or complicated serialization. This is the freaking Hollywood Reporter, guys. This is the Hollywood Reporter saying this. Like, you know it's bad. You know it's bad when the Hollywood Reporter is not pulling punches. Fans' outcry and skepticism occur every time a beloved franchise changes hands. I don't know about outcry and skepticism. I can think of a couple of examples where people were actually relieved, and it bit us in the rear. Like, oh, I don't know, when Disney took over Lucasfilm in 2012, people were cheering, people were excited. It was like, oh, yes, like Disney has the backing, the ability, the talent to make an incredible production out of these rights. Like they have such ability to do justice to this. And look what happened. R.I.P. Star Wars. I just like there's a reason that fans are so freaking skeptical now. Anytime that we have been optimistic, it has literally bit us in the rear. Quite literally bit us in the rear. Oh, Lord have mercy. But in this case, their misgivings are not without reason. I would argue that anytime we have outcry and skepticism, it isn't without reason. Like, genuinely. Amazon, after all, spent nearly $300 million creating its own Bond-like international British spy drama in Citadel. The series launched in 2023. God, it was so bad too, guys. If you've not seen Citadel, don't. It's just not. Amazon had the series launched in 2023 to soft reviews and meager audience scores because it was bland. It was nothing. So here's the thing about James Bond, about the Wheel of Time, about the Lord of the Rings, about the Chronicles of Narnia, about Harry Potter, about all of these epic stories, all of these epic, if you like, IPs, Indiana Jones, Star Wars, if Lethal Weapon, freaking, oh my gosh, just I'm trying to think, um, just like right off the top of my head, obviously Rocky. I mean, you've got so many incredible IPs, and Rambo too, of course. But like the wild thing to me is the reason, part of what set them apart is they were so distinctive. Yes, they touch on similar themes. They have characters, like there's the hero's journey. There is, the protagonist who is, perhaps he is like, oh gosh, what is the word? It left me. I speak English. What is it called? Reluctant. There we go. Perhaps he's the reluctant hero. Perhaps he's the reluctant protagonist. Perhaps he's just in the right place at the wrong time. Whatever it might be. I mean, Die Hard, for the love of goodness. That man was literally, he was just trying to get to his family at Christmas. You know what I mean? But the thing about these IPs is that they're all distinctive. They all have their own scores. They have themes. I mean, the James Bond theme music is iconic. It is iconic. But so is the feel, so is the writing, the passion, the entirety of the IP is its own thing. And it is distinct. And now this is why we get all of these stupid trailers that have the and then you get like it's the whiny, almost like, I don't even know what to call it besides whiny, but you get that whiny intro, and then you get the drop. You guys know exactly what I'm talking about. I'm not doing it justice, but where it's like, and then it's like, boom, and then it just blows your ears out, and they all sound the same. They're all interchangeable. They're going for thematic as opposed to, or cinematic rather than thematic. So rather than focusing on the themes of that specific IP and making it wholly, and I mean, when I say holy, I mean WHO, not HOLY, like not but the other one. It's interchangeable with other IPs, which makes it cheap and easy to, rip off, easy to interchange. It might be cheaper, but you get out what you put in. And every trailer sounds the same. Every trailer looks the same. There isn't anything to grab you. There isn't anything to pull you in. And so they're going for cinematic rather than thematic, and it's a problem. It is it is a huge problem because there's nothing to separate these IPs from each other. I mean, you can look at Wheel of Time and Rings of Power, and it honestly, like, you cannot tell them apart. You can't. They are so similar in costuming, in setting, in the color scale. It's just it's impossible to really tell them. They are entirely interchangeable, and it's annoying because these are such great properties. So Citadel is just, it was a poor, it, how can I say this? Citadel was the byproduct of cockiness and lack of understanding of what makes James Bond James Bond. And we'll get to that more in a second because you'll see. Amazon had ambitiously conceived the show as not just a series, but an instant franchise with different Citadel spin-off shows planned for various countries worldwide and characters that would eventually all team up Avengers style. Stop making everything Avengers. I'm so sick of it. In other words, Amazon first conceived of a global whoa. Come on, computer. Content. It's all about consumerism, it's all about content. Amazon first conceived of a global content plan, then attempted to write a TV show to fit that vision, which is rarely how compelling storytelling works. I can't believe this is from the Hollywood Reporter, but yes, they are absolutely bang on. You cannot do it that way. That is not how any of this works. I I feel like I'm I forget what I don't remember if it was Allstate or what that commercial was, but it's that clip of that's not how it works. That's not how any of it works. That's what I feel like right now. The studio's other action dramas include Tom Clancy's Jack Ryan and Reacher, which are fine. No shade, just very much TV. And it is very much TV. Another beloved IP the company spent hundreds of millions to acquire, like Bond, was the Lord of the Rings prequel. Resulting show Rings of Power has been divisive among fans. That is being kind, to say the least, albeit still popular in terms of... No, it's not. Hollywood Reporter, stop. Stop what you are doing. You are, nope, you should have stuck to your guns. Right there. Like, divisive among fans, to say the least, is one thing. 65% of the audience disappeared before the end of the first season. This isn't streaming, like, their streaming numbers are abysmal. There is nothing there. They wouldn't have waited for 6 months to renew season 3 and announce it if this was a smashing success. And then there are Amazon's worrisome clashes with Broccoli and Wilson. As detailed in the Wall Street Journal story, Broccoli once described Amazon executives as effing idiots. Broccoli was also reportedly incensed by executives dismissively referring to James Bond as content. That's what I'm saying. See? Wilson? Oh, I'm so sad you're retiring. The report also revealed Amazon contemplated TV spin-offs based on the characters Moneypenny or perhaps a female Bond series. Listen, it was perfectly set up in Die Another Day. 1 second. Oh, excuse me. Pardon me. I had to sneeze. Female Bond series. You had that in Die Another Day with Halle Berry's character, Jinx. You could have easily done that spin-off, but you didn't. There is a female 00. You could easily step in and do that 00 series because she exists as canon in the books. She exists. But no, they want to strip 007 of his identity and shove their identitarian politics into it so that they can attempt to ride on his coattails and his success. And that isn't how this works. You cannot... A steaming pile of dung is still a steaming pile of dung, regardless of what you wrap it in. It doesn't matter what it looks like, it matters what it delivers. Good Lord. Broccoli arguably had it right when she controversially declared that Bond can be any race, but the character is male. He's basically idealized masculinity. Can't be any race. There are books. It is very specific. Ian Fleming, who... So this is one of my favorite things is that Ian Fleming very much described James Bond in his book. There is a physical description of James Bond in the books. It is canon. He is there. Did all of the James Bonds fit it exactly? No, but by God, they tried to get close. And yes, he is male, and it's not idealized masculinity. It is unadulterated masculinity. Okay? This is a man who cannot, because he tried, but he cannot get married. He cannot settle down. He cannot have that quiet life. It is not for him. But his sacrifice, what he is doing, the reason that he, lives on the edge, takes nothing for granted, drinks and smokes and drives the fast cars and kisses the beautiful women is because every day could be his last day. Nothing except England is eternal for him. His entire mission is for the good of England. That's it. His whole mission is to protect England. King, in this case, king and country. And by his actions, he ends up saving the world sometimes, but it's always been about England. He is a British spy. It's that simple, cut and dry. A TV version of Bond is, and so now we're back at the article. A TV version of Bond is what? A more expensive looking British version of Netflix's The Night Agent. I like The Night Agent, but James Bond it is not. Amazon, quite understandably, prioritizes its Prime Video streaming service. Witness how the streamer refused to bow to pressure to release its reboot of Roadhouse into theaters last year. Which isn't to say the company wouldn't release a Bond movie in theaters. It'd be a mistake if they didn't. Keeping Bond exclusive to Prime Video seems very unlikely, though not impossible. The larger point is that Amazon isn't a company that seems to value cinema and doesn't have long-time experience creating cinema, the way a company making the next Bond movie ideally would, or should. Here's the thing, it's MGM Studios that is owned. It's owned by Amazon, but this should be released by MGM Studios. Poor UA just got booted to the side. Company would, of course, open its coffers to spend an unholy amount of money on a Bond project. But in terms of casting, few fans seem to trust that the two-day shipping giant will make a compelling choice. It's impossible to imagine, for instance, Amazon using Daniel Craig for the actor's first Bond outing in 2006's Casino Royale. Craig wasn't considered a safe choice at the time. He wasn't well known and was slammed for being blonde and not matinee idol handsome. It's hard to imagine nervous Amazon execs making a similar go with your gut pick. Honestly, Craig could have been great, but he was terrible. He was a horrific Bond. I don't care how much people say they love Casino Royale. That was the beginning of the death toll or the death knell, whatever, of Bond. Craig was a terrible Bond. I don't care what anybody says. I loathed him in that role. It was horrific, and he looked miserable playing it. For instance, for Citadel, Amazon cast Richard Madden coming off of BBC's action drama Bodyguard, which had fans online saying he should play the next James Bond. Studio cast an obvious and safe in-the-moment choice. Bezos himself has already started down the wrong path by publicly asking after the announcement, who'd you pick as the next James Bond, as if eager to get an online focus group going. We're going to touch on this. In fact, let's see. So here is the post in question. Oh, look, there's my reply. Who'd you pick as the next Bond? And we're going to get into this a little bit more in just a second, but we'll go back to the article quickly. One fan-friendly component of Bond is that films are all self-contained, at least until the franchise attempted to some degree of serialization in the last couple of movies. Yes, and it was an absolute freaking disaster, which critics and fans agreed largely didn't work. You think? Otherwise, you can enjoy any of the 25 Bond films without having watched any other Bond film. But it's a safe bet Amazon will not be content with making a standalone movie every few years. One worries that the company will try for some tangled world-building monstrosity like Disney did with Star Wars. Do you know what this is? Do you know what this is? Whoa. This right here, this is the Hollywood Reporter admitting that Disney has absolutely crapped the bed with Star Wars. That's what this is. This is a Clint Eastwood quote, so it's admittedly imperfect for a Bond story, but the message is right. A man's got to know his limitations. Arguably, the wisest moves Amazon could make to earn its 00 status is likewise recognizing its limitations. Hire one fantastic filmmaker with a compelling vision for Bond that feels new and also honors the character's legacy. Then get out of the way while committing to a single movie to be released in theaters. Prove you can make one terrific Bond movie. Earn that license to kill. It's a strategy the company will almost certainly reject in favor of something more hands-on and unwieldy. When it comes to Amazon's ambitions for its content, the world is rarely enough. I enjoyed the puns in this article. Truly, I did. But this is bang on. I swear it's like they watched some of our stuff because we've been saying these exact things for years. If all you are worried about is churning out content, you will never get beyond it. You will never know greatness. You will never attain it. It is impossible. So, back to Bezos' post that the Hollywood Reporter thinks is a bad idea. No, it's never a bad idea to get a sample size from your actual audience, assuming that they exist. But don't worry, there were plenty of people trying to sneak in that DEI BS. So, here is Bezos's tweet, and it has, and now it's got 22,000 comments. When I asked Grok, it had, I think, like 20 or 21,000. So it's gone up since then, and it's got 9 million impressions. So here is what I asked Grok. Numbers don't lie. 45% of responses at the time of posting this want Cavill. Hardy is a distant second with 20%. Yes, it's an incredibly small sample size, but businesses have done far more with far less data. I just realized how small this is for you guys. Hold on. There we go. Has done far less with far less data. Also, I love that our first lady was able to get 15% of the replies. It's true, though. So I asked Grok, what is the percentage breakdown of replies to this post from Jeff Bezos about who should play the next James Bond? And then I linked the post. Here is the breakdown per Grok. Henry Cavill received the most replies, accounting for approximately 45% of responses, with multiple users citing suitability due to his action hero credentials and British heritage. That's not the only reason, but sure. Tom Hardy garnered around 20% of replies, with some users referencing Pierce Brosnan's endorsement as a former Bond actor. Melania Trump received about 50% of responses, driven by a single user suggestion and an accompanying image, though it appears more as a humorous or unconventional proposal. Obviously, they're trolling. Like, that's the point. But I love that she got 15%. That is hilarious. Other suggestions, including Jeff Bezos himself, God no, and an African actor, not named, but apparently he, like, an African actor, made up the remaining 20%, with users proposing diverse or unique candidates for a multipolar world representation. All right, here is the problem. Make your own James Bond. Make your own James Bond. He's British. He's not multipolar. He isn't for the world. He is literally for England. That is who he's for. He is a British spy. He is for England. Everything he has ever done. People want to hate on another day, but he was literally captured by North Korea, tortured, and he never gave anything up, ever. And it was always for England. Always. Everything he has ever done has always been for England. He is a British spy. He isn't an American spy. He isn't a German spy. He isn't a freaking he's not from Zimbabwe or Mozambique or China or India or Mesopotamia, which doesn't even exist. He's not Greek. He's British. I'm getting sick and tired of everybody wanting to, again, they want to gut the history, the legacy, the culture, the entire identity of these IPs, and force feed their own their idea of representation. They want to self-insert in some way, shape, or form, because they cannot, their imagination is so limited that if it doesn't look like them, if it doesn't sound like them, if it doesn't represent what they want, well, then that's unfair. That's just not right. We can't let that happen. They have to look and sound just like us, because we're important. Like, the idea that no work went into James Bond. Ian Fleming was an incredible author, but more than that, he actually had life experience. He actually lived And what's genuinely crazy to me is I don't know how many of you have seen Ungentlemanly Warfare. It's funny because Henry Cavill has technically already he has played he has played the proto Bond essentially, because so if you have not watched, it is Guy Ritchie directed it. I was wholly impressed with it. I use that word a lot. I was incredibly impressed by it. I genuinely enjoyed it. It had a couple things where I was like, I'm not sure if that's entirely accurate, but for the most part, I was like, okay, I'm I'm on board. That makes sense. That lines up. But Henry Cavill plays Phillips, who even at the end of the film, it says that Phillips is believed to be the one who Ian Fleming based most, if not all, of James Bond off of. So technically, Cavill has done that thing where he's the proto Bond, so he's technically Bond before Bond was Bond. Oh, let me see if I can find it. Hold on. Na, 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 na. Talk amongst yourselves. We will da 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 da. Da, 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 da. I just realized I could get copyright for that because I don't even know like when that was. All right, let me see if I can find it. Da 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 da. Do da do da. Okay. I like how everybody just like nobody says the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. Everybody just calls it Ungentlemanly Warfare. Okay. Let me see. Holy cow! Is this an Amazon? Is this an Amazon thing? It's ridiculous. So they've literally already had him essentially play Bond at one point. That's wild to me. Like they already kind of did it, but they aren't gonna actually commit or anything because God forbid they actually give the people what they want. 45% is not a small number. That is almost half of everybody that has responded to Bezos. That's wild. Okay, hold on. Yeah, that's great. Let me see if I can get to. Here we go. Trying to see. Because they do the Appleyard, Hayes. Here we go. All right. Okay. Go away. Because we got to keep this above board, folks. So, a distinguished service order. So this is the real individual from the movie The Ministry. This is who the character is based off of. Awarded the Distinguished Service Order for leading Operation Postmaster and appointed member of the Order of the British Empire, Mark Phillips is believed to be the key figure upon whom Ian Fleming based his fictional character James Bond. And that is the character, and Henry Cavill portrayed him in this film. So, again, technically, Cavill has already played Bond, but it was before Bond became Bond. I don't know if that makes sense. But it's wild to me that he can clearly do this. If you've not watched The Man from, and we'll go over it later, but The Man from U.N.C.L.E. and the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare, I strongly suggest you do. And here's the other thing. They already have Cavill on contract because he is there for Warhammer. So he is already there. This would actually be a gross misappropriation of resources, as well as completely disregarding any fiduciary responsibility that you have for this IP. Like, investors should literally, like, shareholders, investors, whatever you want to say, they should be pissed. Pissed. And here's the other thing. All right, now we're going to get on to this. There are people who are just like, oh my gosh, not Cavill for Bond. So here is John Talks. Have great respect, mad respect for the dude. He's way bigger than I ever will be. Maybe not mad respect, but you know, he is who he is, and he says what he says, and could be engagement farming, it could be whatever. But he says Henry Cavill is such an uninspired and generic pick for James Bond. And they're like, yeah, and he goes, he checks exterior boxes. My response is, if you think this, go watch Man from U.N.C.L.E. And I would also add the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. Cavill is the no-brainer, not because he checks boxes. It's because he actually respects the character. He is... We already know that he is a lore loyalist. This is what got him in trouble with the Witcher series. Now, here is my one concern with Cavill, and I have said this for over 2 years now, that he is what they use to snag the audience, because everybody wants to go, like, this is why, like, people are just like, oh, he doesn't bring in the numbers. No, it's because the people don't trust the studio. They've seen what they do with Cavill. They've watched. He played Sherlock Holmes in Enola Holmes, but it was all about Enola and putting down Sherlock and making Sherlock less smart than his little sister, whom he never had, by the way. There is no Enola Holmes. She is not canon. She is fanfic. And this goes down the rabbit hole of feminism and feminist self-inserts and misandry that is rampant in so much of our entertainment spheres, and it's bleeding over into the real world because these feminists they have so much self-loathing for the fact that they're a woman. And so the only way that they can counteract that is by literally acting like a man to put other men down, like to put men down. It's so misandrist, it's disgusting, and it's why so many people have rejected modern everything, because it is horrific. That is what is uninspired. Cavill has proven that if he has a good script with people that know what they're doing and aren't afraid to tell a story, he can deliver. But when you use Cavill to try and bait and switch a fan base, they're only going to fall for that once or twice. He walked away from the Witcher series. He tried to warn people, but there was only so much he could do. He walked away from the Witcher series because of the atrocious writing. He has been working on this Highlander project, my gosh, for like 2 years now. They've been working on this, and it is apparently still in pre-production. He's getting ready to go over to 40K, but he was livid with Game Workshop after they announced a female... There are no female custodians. There's no female Space Marines. It is that cut and dry. Most men can't survive the process to become a Space Marine. No woman would be able to. Our physiology is just different. There are other roles, and what really pisses me off is there are female chapters in 40K. So, but because they're not Ultramarines, it's not good enough. I am so freaking over it. I'm so over it. Like, just, there's so many ways to get into the 40K universe. You can read the novels, you can play the games, you can do the video games. or the tabletop. You can just, if you just want to paint, if you just want to collect and paint, you can do it that way. There's, oh my gosh, there's music, there's short films, there's fan films, there's so freaking much that you can utilize to get into the 40K universe. But that has been true of all of these great IPs. And the thing that genuinely sucks about this is that rather than being inspired to create new things, rather than looking at something that is successful and being like, you know what, that is inspiring, I am going to write my own story because it has inspired me to seek a different type of protagonist, or maybe a different storyline, but I want to create. It's so easy to destroy. It's so easy to destroy. It takes talent and it takes patience to create. And none of these people want that. They want the instantaneous fame, recognition, and money. But here's the thing, people are not going to show up if you serve that. Like, this is like if people show up for Thanksgiving dinner expecting a turkey and you serve them tofu. Oh, or tofurkey, if that's what it's called. I can't remember what that's called. But it's fake. Everybody knows it's fake. And maybe they'll try to be polite to their host, but if it keeps happening over and over again, eventually you're going to stop coming. You're going to stop showing up. You're going to stop being kind. Because it isn't just your money, it's your time, it's your trust, and it's your own self-interest and self-worth. Just like, listen, I'm not going to waste my time with somebody who clearly doesn't care about anybody but themselves. Yeah, it's your house, okay, you're hosting, but that's not everybody's way. And for you to continue hosting after people have told you, it's not so much oh, it happened one time and then it was, oh, I'm sorry, like I'll readjust. No, it's they keep doing it over and over, and they keep telling you that you're the problem. They keep telling you that you're the one that has to change, that you're the one with the issues. They're gaslighting you. They're trying to make you feel terrible about yourself, so that you feel reluctant and you will eventually just consume what they try to shove down your throat. Amazon only generates content, consumerism content. And until they allow, just like that Hollywood Reporter article said, until they allow someone who is actually capable and a real creative to do what needs to be done, Amazon will never succeed. Not in the way that they should be able to, especially with MGM Studios in their wake. That library runs deeper than just James Bond, way deeper than just James Bond. But that's not anything the foresight, they are so short-sighted. They are very short-term minimal gains for long-term severe losses. They are not making smart business decisions. They are not making smart creative decisions, and it's just wildly ridiculous. So I stand by my statement of anybody that has a take like this where, oh, Henry Cavill is an uninspired pick for Bond. No, he's not. He's put in the work. He has inspired other people. People see something in him that they want represented on the screen for everybody to enjoy. He has already done the work. That's why it's inspiring. I'm genuinely over it. And here's the thing. Hardy has said that he doesn't know that he would want to play James Bond. I don't want somebody who is wishy-washy when it comes to Bond. You are either all the way in or you're not in at all. And the fact that it came down to Cavill or Craig and we ended up with Craig actually disgusts me. But you can't unring that bell. Amazon has a chance to give the audience what they want, though. Let's see if they actually listen. It's so hard because Bond has been incredible for decades. And the fact that 2002 was the last real Bond movie we've got, say what you will, I love Die Another Day. I freaking love Die Another Day. Everybody was just like, oh my gosh, but the gene therapy where it changes your entire ethnicity. Oh, look at what we are witnessing right now. There is really no better allegory for how insane the world is than a North Korean man transforming himself into a ginger so that he can complete his evil plot and basically just invade South Korea. Like, freaking wow. Like, go back and rewatch Die Another Day. I promise you, you're gonna have a whole new appreciation for it. Also, the cars were not invisible. The cars were not invisible. It was technology, and Bond has always had tech that allowed his car to camouflage. It was the screen projection of cameras that allowed his car to camouflage. And then, of course, it got damaged, and then he had to wait for it to get fixed. I love that freaking car. I thought that was one of the coolest scenes, quite frankly, ever. Also, I don't care that he surfed on an avalanche. Like, nobody got pissy when freaking Bond is hopping over alligators. Nobody got pissy when Bond survives a freaking rock slide. Nobody gets pissy when he gets choked to like near death by Jaws, the big giant man, obviously not the shark. I mean, that's the whole thing. Bond gets put in these near death situations and he always gets out of them. I am flabbergasted that people that people are upset about any of this. Like, genuinely, truly, how is a car that uses cameras and screens to camouflage itself to its environment any less ridiculous than, you guys remember in The World Is Not Enough? They're going skiing and he literally like pops his vest and then that inflatable ball surrounds them and they survive an avalanche that way. Nobody got pissy with that. I also thought that scene was cool. Holy crap, Super Based. Hello. And thank you for the 10 memberships. Good Lord. You are a scholar and a gentleman. I appreciate you so, so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Words are not enough. that is freaking outstandingly awesome. Thank you. Genuinely. But this is where we're sitting at, where people, they can suspend their disbelief for certain things, but a car that can camp, how can a car that goes from being a car to a submarine back to a car, how is that, how are you able to, like, my brain cannot comprehend why you would suspend disbelief for that, but not a completely realistic way to camouflage a vehicle by using cameras and screencasting. We literally, like, you guys watch it happen on YouTube, on it, like, we see green screen stuff all the time. And nobody flips their lid when you're watching like a stream or something and they have a green screen background. They're camouflaging what their actual background looks like. I fail to see why one is bad or corny or cheesy and the others are not. That's just me. Also, Pierce Brosnan is to this day my favorite James Bond personally. Obviously, Sean Connery is the legend. He is the definitive James Bond. He is the reason it started. But, like, it's Pierce Brosnan. It may also be because GoldenEye was the first film I ever saw in theaters. and it was right at Christmas. So there is always there's that possibility too. Good times. But yeah, Pierce Brosnan is by far my personal favorite James Bond. But objectively, you have to give it to Connery, because without him starting the James Bond films, obviously we're not talking about the TV show, but like without him, James Bond would never have become what it is. And that was like, of course, the trap set up for Lazenby. Like they tried to what is the word? Man, my English is failing me. And it's my first language. Not adapt. Promote. There's the word. They tried to promote him as a Sean Connery younger, or like a I even remember, let me find the trailer. They're like, he's back but different, and they were very much trying to market him as like a Sean Connery light. Let me see if I can. Also, Her Majesty's in Her Majesty's Secret Service is the name of that one. Or on Her Majesty's Secret Service. I think I said in. Okay. So I think it's this one. Hang on. You'll probably hear this, but
Vistas of sweeping splendor.
okay, yeah.
It must.
Pretty sure it's this one. But so they really did try to sell him as a Sean Connery that's not.
It's got to be when he's around. Vistas of sweeping splendor. Different. It must be so if he's in the picture.
So see, vistas of sweeping, like, but different. It must be if he's in the picture.
Fabulous beauties, all of them dolls, every one different. They've got to be when he's around.
My name's Bond.
Okay, so see, they're very much trying to, like, he's different but the same.
James Bond.
The new Bond.
Suppose I were to kill you for a thrill.
The different 007.
See what I mean? So they're like, he's different but the same. And
George Lazenby. The different Bond from the same stable.
there you go. Different Bond from the same state. Like, they're trying very hard to, like, market him as a Sean Connery. I don't even know. Like, a Sean Connery light, essentially. That's what they were trying to do. I mean, those cuts, those scenes of him, like, coming down the mountain, those scenes of him fighting in the water, you can't tell me that they did not try to make him look as close to Sean Connery as possible. And it almost killed the franchise right there. People utterly rejected it because he wasn't, first of all, that script, it was a long film, and that script was rough. It was brutal. But this almost killed the franchise right here. But it didn't do near. George Lazenby has been redeemed after Craig for sure. But it's almost like they tried to do the Indiana Jones, like swap the bag with the statue, and just like in Indiana Jones, it didn't work. People rejected George Lazenby because he wasn't enough of his own man. He wasn't enough of his own 007. And this is, you would think that they would have learned from this, and they did for a while. Albert Broccoli absolutely learned, but they have forgotten this lesson. I just, oh man, like, they brought him in because Sean Connery was going to retire, and they had to bring Connery back because this was so bad, and they had to do a different transition for a new Bond. And yeah, the public very much rejected Lazenby. He just did not convey that same wit, that same killer instinct. Like, there's just something about him that is less representative of Bond. He does not feel like the character. And then you have,
How many times
look at this.
can one man leave you breathless?
Can one man leave you breathless? Well, if you let him be Bond, countless times, literally countless times. I think Timothy Dalton got a unfair shake. He should have gotten at least, I'd say at least one more Bond. Like, look at that. He was until Pierce Brosnan, he was actually, like, Timothy Dalton was the most book accurate Bond. Pierce Brosnan is actually less accurate to the books in terms of just sort of his overall demeanor. He's a little bit more lighthearted, he's a lot more lighthearted than the Bond from the novels. But like, Timothy Dalton was a genuine fan, and
Number is up.
I love Dalton. He did not get a fair shake. Also, the practical effects, just fantastic. I'm gonna get nailed for this music. I'm gonna guess it's not gonna be good. Oh well. But this is, I mean, man, look at just the flashiness. They got somebody that could actually do, like, everything was practical. Everything was, it made sense. You wanted to see the next, what it had to offer, what was around the corner, what was next. But yeah, Dalton did not get a fair shake. There was a lot of studio interference on this one. They tried to say that audiences didn't respond to him, and that's just not the case at all. Like, people loved Timothy Dalton in this role, but they pulled a DC. They just didn't let him really, like, breathe. But he very much made Bond, like, he very much made the Bond character his own. He owned it, like, from the get-go. And then you've got this is one of the best trailers in my opinion, but one of the best Bond films.
For your eyes only.
Like,
We are.
it's just so freaking good. They nail everything.
Why not come in for a bite?
Oh, I'm gonna get nailed for that. Some of the best theme songs. Remember, thematic, not cinematic. It had its own identity. Gosh. Remember when Bond girl, like, look at how breathtaking she is. Holy crap. Like, just go back and look at the Bond girls. I need to do a stream about just the Bond girls. Holy cow. Like, this is... That's beauty right there. I'd fight for her too. Good lord. Beauty is supposed to inspire masculinity to do great things. That's the whole point of beauty. Truth, beauty, goodness, unity. They are meant to inspire men to be masculine and do great, daring things. And then, of course, the iconic barrel shot with the dripping blood. Like, I don't know. We just don't get this stuff anymore. And then, of course, we have this teaser, which I remember when this oh gosh, I'm gonna get hit for this, but it's okay. If you're watching the replay on this, I'll probably have to cut this part out, and I'm sorry. Go watch the trailer of James Bond Gold. Like, this, like, just look at that. Man. Bruh. Come on. God, I'm gonna get nailed for this music, and I don't care.
You expecting someone else?
It's so good. I don't understand. Ridiculous. We gotta
No more foreplay.
My God, let me go back.
Name's Bond. James Bond.
Da, 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 da. I'll sing it for you. To a Bond character, like, that was his intro to the James Bond character, was diving off of the edge of a dam. Oh my gosh. Freaking A. Like, the characters, the setup, the betrayal, like, just, freaking Sean Bean. Where you at? I see you. Freaking masterful in this movie. Also, side note, the fact that we did not get a Sean Bean as Odysseus film is highly criminal. Okay, Sean Bean, freaking chef's kiss, out freaking standing on a top as, like, this Black Widow assassin who, like, got excited by the fact that she was literally crushing men's lungs with her legs. Tell me that is not just, like, first of all, it is 100% logical, because most of men's strength is in their upper body, most of women's strength is in our lower body. And any of you guys that have ever done leg day, leg presses of any kind, you can do way more damage with your legs if you train them correctly than you ever could with your upper body. There's so much strength down there. So it is not wild to conceive that this Russian assassin dominatrix would absolutely break men's rib cages. Like, just absolutely nailed it. The fact that you have this, oh my gosh, like, the supporting characters were fantastic. The idea of the golden eye existing and what it could be used for, and the fact that Bond insults his former best friend to his face and is like, "You're literally nothing but another thief." And you get this tragic backstory of the Bolsheviks. And anybody that doesn't know the history of Bolshevik Russia should really look into it. My grandmother's family actually like had to flee Bolshevik Russia. Um, very short synopsis. Um, Russia after World War II had like they had nobody left to really farm. They had essentially forgotten how to make the land sustainable and how to farm. So these German farmers came over to help reinvigorate their land and make it fertile and make it grow, and the Bolsheviks slaughtered them. It was very bad. It is a horrific point in history that I genuinely don't think gets enough time spent on it. But it's incredible that like after his backstory, after everything that happens, Bond is like, "You're just nothing but a common thief." And he takes that so personally. And he's like, "No, I will have England on its knees begging for mercy." And you're just like, "Okay, but why?" And then you why are you taking it out on England? And then you see just sort of the warped mindset of this individual and how obviously he'd been planning this for a long time, because Bond thought that Alec had been killed at the factory at the very beginning of the movie. And it's just it's phenomenally done. It's incredibly well written. The acting in this is, I mean, this is top tier, S tier, like untouchable writing and execution, and just phenomenal. So if you ever are just like, I don't know what to watch, GoldenEye. It's the answer. There are a few films that you can insert there that will never disappoint you, and GoldenEye is one of them. It's just freaking phenomenal. Also, please bring back beautiful Bond girls and actually let them be beautiful. That'd be great too. And call them Bond girls. I don't know if you guys remember, but there was that whole like, "Oh, they can't use the word Bond girl on set anymore." That's just stupid. Bond girls are as intrinsically a part of James Bond as Bond himself. Like, you need your Bond girls. It's just wild that people would think otherwise. But that is what we're gonna stop for this evening or this early morning, depending on where you are in the world. Could be afternoon, I have no idea. But I appreciate every single one of you for stopping by, stopping in, hanging in, and like just genuinely, I wholeheartedly appreciate every single one of you guys. It is so humbling that you guys are spending your time hanging out with me. That means the world. I don't take it for granted. I really do appreciate you guys. Some stuff that we have coming up, or so I have a series that I've been working on for a while now. It's almost done. I'm hoping to be able to drop the first of it no later than next week. Like, I wanted to get it out today, but that was just like, that was overly ambitious on my part. So that's kind of where we're sitting on that. But I think you guys will kind of, I don't know, you may like it, you may not. But Nostalgic Nirvanas will be should be able to be pretty consistent with Nostalgic Nirvanas here on out, but they'll go back to probably 9 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Mountain. What is that? 8 p.m. Central. Somewhere in that vicinity. So we'll do nostalgic Nirvanas again on Thursday nights. Come heck or high water, I'll make sure that I'm here. And then gonna try streaming at least one other day and a week, possibly Tuesdays, maybe Mondays. We'll see. And yeah, working on some other stuff too. Some stuff for YouTube, some stuff for in real life. So lots of stuff going on that hopefully you will all be able to enjoy. And I, of course, once again, Super Based, thank you again for the 10 gifted memberships. That is just mind-blowingly generous of you. I genuinely appreciate it. I hope you all have a fantastic morning, noon, night, wherever it is that you are. And I maybe well, I'll have to have like a long weekend from work to play that. You guys forget I still got a job. I still have a regular job, and it's not a 9 to 5. It is a 7 to it's like a 6 to 6. It's a 12 hour. But we will I will give it a shot. I'll figure that out. So we can maybe not handle 5. Cuz we all know how I feel about that. But my goodness, you guys are putting so much more stuff in my queue, and I've already got a ton. I will try to get to all of it. I will try to get to all of it. I promise. But as always, God bless, Godspeed. Thank you so much. I genuinely appreciate every single one of you, and I hope that you have a fantastic day, night, morning, wherever you are. And much love. And I'll talk to you later. Bye.
Bond. James Bond.
Bond, James Bond.
The name's Bond. James Bond. Bond.
My name's Bond. James Bond.
My name's Bond. James Bond.
The name's Bond.